Alright, so I'm going to go over the light patterns, but as you guys know, I typically try to answer any frequently asked questions. So anyone that's already familiar with the whole emergency light thing, feel free to skip through the video and get to what you came here for. But for those that you're new to this, and to answer some of the frequently asked questions when it comes to emergency lights, I get a lot of messages or comments or emails. A lot of people ask why we go with all white, and then people have to, on the flip side, people like, why is it bad to use all white? Because someone always comments about the white pattern without necessarily explaining why it's a bad idea. So I'll answer both those questions. Now, as far as the fact that we tend to run all white or clear patterns, for one, they're not governed by the state. You don't need to have any type of permit or licensing for it. For two, a lot of us, such as myself, we work for agencies that are owned by police officers, and police officers seem to hate amber lights. Like, even when I've built these cars out for, or helped design the light package to build out cars for police officers, when they tend to pick up one, if they don't have a take-home car, they'll pick up one and spec it out for working their off-duty jobs, extra jobs or whatever have you. They stay away from amber, but they can't legally use blue, so they always want to use all white. And for that same reason, agencies that are owned by police officers, they prefer we use all white. They don't like amber. I've had more than one police officer actually try to find a legal way, some type of loophole for us to run blue lights, which in our state is completely illegal across the board. I've even heard of police officers getting arrested for impersonating a police officer by vehicle because they had blue lights in their personal car. Can't do it. I've had a deputy try to figure if he can deputize everybody in the company just so we can run blue lights, and that's not how that works. So that's why we tend to run white. You know, a lot of the agencies, the owners just don't like amber. And we're running it on private property. Now, why is it a bad idea to use white? Because it's too bright, plain and simple. If you are running white on DLT property and you blind somebody and they crash into you, it's your fault. If they know what they're doing, if they hire a lawyer, it's your fault. You know, so that's why it's a bad idea. At least to run white to the rear. Now, I don't really have an issue because I only really run my lights on private property. I have amber patterns for a reason versus the white patterns. But, and I don't really do like funeral escorts or something like that. I've done them before, but typically if I'm doing that type of work, it's a favor for a friend or another officer or a family member, in which case generally the police take point. They clear the intersection, they take the intersection, and we just come up behind them and we hold the intersection so that they can move on to the next one. And I'll run amber if I'm doing something like that, because again, don't want to cause an accident with the white lights. So we'll jump right into it. We're already almost 4 minutes in. Now, this is the basic night ride pattern. Figure this is good for just showing a bit of presence. You know, it's not going to wake anybody up, not going to piss people off, especially just using it, you know, on private property. That's going to be the quantum light bar. We've got quantums on the side. Those are the quantum rockers. I do much prefer the HG2s, but the HG2s didn't have, they're much lower profile, the optics are closer together, but they don't have as much functionality. So we're just going to try these out. We'll see how it goes. Did stick with the HG2 mirrors. They're $600 for the pair. This entire light package, all the lights that we have on here, the Siren, the Hammer, everything amounts to about $5,300 plus install. We're running 10 of the quads. I actually had the bracket painted to match the car. The Feniex Quads have 60-degree optics compared to my other light package that had Feniex Fusions. The Fusions had 80 or 180 degrees, 40 or 180 degree optics. These are 60 across the board. So we got the push bumper, the front tag, side of the body here, side of the body there, the vents, and right next to the back tag. And then we have, of course, the Feniex Quantum bar. We went with the CLDG flasher in the for the tail light, so it flashes the tail light, like the full trim ring, the brake lights and the reverse lights, and the third brake light we use a sequenced, plural, excuse me, past tense, sequenced.com circuit board for the third brake light, flash the third brake light. Now I ran into several issues that everybody should be aware of. For one, the quads do not sync with the quantums. So that's the first problem. Also, I wanted a lot more than apparently this stuff was capable of, because I wanted to be able to do a white flash, a amber flash, an amber cruise, a white flood, and then some of the other little things like, you know, brake, using the ones in the back for the brake lights. The quads only have 3 trigger wires, so I had to pick 3. We couldn't do them all. So that's why some of them do some things and some do the other things, because we had to choose between, you know, everything I wanted to do and just pick 3. Also, the software for the quantums was a pain, because it's supposed to give you 60 days to set your patterns or whatever before it locks out the patterns and the colors. And I ordered them December 2nd. I got them like December 11th. We first opened the box December 18th, and January 3rd, it was locked out. Couldn't do anything, completely locked out. So it took Feniex forever to unlock them, and then even still, it was an issue. So then they updated the software, and it made it worse. So it was a whole thing, like a month, trying to get this stuff right. But it seems to be working okay now. This is going to be our all-white flash. Those side windows redone is actually really bothering me. And that's with it turned off. Suppose starting the car would make sense. Only. Still hoping that's not too much white in the rear, but I'm gonna find out. front and rear combination. Tail light's supposed to be flashing. Strange. The mirrors are not supposed to be flashing. Flash all. Most of amber. It's going to be amber cruise. So again, like I said, we have to choose 3 things for the surface mounts for the quads. So some of them do cruise and some of them do flood, because the third is going to be flash, or the first 2 are flash. So they're set to amber white flash and then all white flash, and the third wire is set to either cruise or flood. So the ones that aren't on cruise right now are on flood. And what they did is for the cruise mode, they set everything to 75% brightness, except the light bars, or the front and rear bars, are at 100% brightness because of the window tint. Full flood. Kind of annoyed by all the issues with the Quantum, but it's growing on me, and it's definitely got more functionality. Well, supposedly they're phasing out the quad stuff for the Quantum stuff, so if they end up bringing out a Quantum surface mount, then I'll probably have these replaced. There's only so much I can do with the quads compared to the Quantum. Alley lights. Something was showing both sides. Right? Now, while I'm working on the lights, also worth noting, as I said, the white light is fine for private property. You really shouldn't use it on DOT because if you cause an accident, it's your fault. Now, in all the years I've run white lights on private property, I've never had a problem. I don't know anybody that's had a problem. But I figure it is worth at least noting that someone who told me he does accident reconstruction for a law firm professionally, he stated that even on private property, if somebody hits you when you're running white lights, it can automatically be your fault. I've never had experience, but that's worth noting. So, you know, if you're going to run white lights for whatever reason, you may want to check with an attorney or, you know, whatever have you. So, just another FYI. And we got the brake function on the bars. So the last one I forgot is park mode. You know, here's another flaw in my design, is that the surface mounts don't do park mode, apparently. And it doesn't override the way it's programmed, so if I have the full flash on, everything else is still flashing while just the bars are in park mode, so I have to do something about that. What I was just told is that the newer version of the surface mounts work only with the Feniex 1, but they'll do all the same features. So if I want to get the full flood, full cruise, amber flash and white flash, and be able to use the 2 rear surface mounts for brake and get the park mode out of everything, then I'd have to switch the surface mounts to the newer version and upgrade to the Feniex 1, apparently. So there's another thing to know in hindsight. Decide whether or not that's worth it to me, or just leave it as is and maybe correct it on the next build. And lastly, we have the Siren. Program 3 Siren tones plus the hammer and the air horn. It does have park kill, so I gotta take it out of park. Now, the hammer works standalone, or it'll mimic the tone of whatever siren I'm using. Alright, well, that's going to be it for now. So, the next one should be on whatever performance work we actually get done. Until next time.